The Denver Nuggets have the most dominant basketball player on planet Earth. Nikola Jokic is 31 years old, right in the absolute zenith of his physical and intellectual prime. And yet, instead of fortifying the roster around a three-time MVP to build a true dynasty, the Denver front office is conducting what looks like a slow-motion corporate liquidation. They just traded away their premier 23-year-old perimeter defender for a draft pick that won't convey until 2031, while filling the rest of the bench with bargain bin veteran minimums. The ownership group isn't building a contender. They are actively slashing payroll to dodge a massive luxury tax bill while pretending to chase banners. This is the exact step-by-step playbook on how to force a generational superstar out the door. If you want to understand how a franchise alienates a top 10 player in basketball history, look at the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Step 1. Regress in the postseason with a brutal early-round exit. Step 2. Make zero tangible roster improvements during free agency. Step 3. Trade away your young, athletic defensive core for distant draft assets. Step 4. Replace them with aging veterans past their athletic prime to mask front office negligence. The Nuggets executed all 4 steps in a single offseason. When Minnesota poached front office architect Tim Connolly, the mastermind behind Denver's 2023 championship, Calvin Booth took the helm. Since then, Connolly's Timberwolves have beaten Denver in back-to-back playoff battles, specifically designing a roster to neutralize Jokic's supporting cast. Meanwhile, Denver panicked, signed unmovable contracts, and bled depth. The Bucks became an asset-depleted mess before Giannis expressed discontent. Denver is now walking that exact same path. Let's dismantle the Payton Watson trade, because this is an indictment of modern NBA ownership priorities. Payton Watson was Denver's bright spot, a 23-year-old two-way wing averaging 14 points, nearly 5 rebounds, and over a block per game while locking down positions 1 through 4. He represented athletic upside and elite defensive versatility. When Watson hit restricted free agency, Cleveland extended a massive offer sheet. In a normal championship window, you match that without hesitation. But in Denver, the numbers triggered corporate terror. Paying Watson his market salary would have pushed Denver deep into the second apron repeater penalty, skyrocketing their tax bill from $68 million to over $220 million. That means one single year of Peyton Watson would have cost ownership an astonishing $177 million in combined salary and taxes. So owner Kroenke threw up his hands. Denver engineered a multi-team transaction. Cleveland secured Watson, routing Max Strus to the Clippers and assets through secondary teams. Meanwhile, Denver walked away with a distant 2031 first-round pick, a future second-round pick, and absorbed prospect Julian Reese, whom they plan to waive for roster flexibility. They traded a 23-year-old core defender for a draft pick currently in middle school. That isn't basketball strategy, that is corporate liquidation. To understand how Denver landed in this financial straitjacket, look at years of front office mismanagement. The cap hell Denver inhabits was entirely self-inflicted. Nikola Jokic carries a $59 million cap hit for the upcoming season. That is well-deserved. But look at the rest. Jamal Murray earns $50 million on a max extension. Aaron Gordon is at $32 million. Christian Braun is commanding a heavy new contract valuation as he enters his peak years. That locks massive money into just a few players. Denver negotiated against themselves. They handed Murray a max extension despite injury history and a shaky international run, with 0 rival teams bidding against them. They signed Zeke Nnaji to over $7 million a year, only to discover he couldn't make a standard playoff rotation. ESPN analyst Brian Windhorst put it bluntly: Denver is $21 million over the tax and $14 million deep into the second apron. Analyst Sam Quinn added that when you have a 31-year-old three-time MVP fleeing the second apron out of fear for a frozen draft pick in 2034 is total malpractice. They crippled their flexibility and left Jokic with a depleted bench. So where does Nikola Jokic stand in all this? Officially, Jokic remains stoic. He hasn't issued demands or criticized management, but actions speak louder than post-game quotes. This past summer, Jokic declined to sign an immediate contract extension. Media outlets rushed to highlight quotes where Jokic stated he wanted to be a Nugget for life, claiming it was purely financial. Let's look at reality. He said that in a hallway, drenched in sweat right after an exhausting international game. That wasn't a blood oath, it was a polite dismissal of a reporter. By pushing his extension to next summer, Jokic becomes eligible for a 5-year, $359 million supermax, the largest contract in NBA history. But it also gives him ultimate leverage. Jokic knows his worth. He knows only a handful of legends: Russell, Jordan, Kareem, LeBron, Magic, Bird, and himself have ever been the undisputed best player alive for a 5-year stretch. Players of that tier do not spend their prime protecting an owner's balance sheet. While Denver cuts costs, rival contenders are positioning themselves to pounce. Enter the Golden State Warriors. Golden State structured their cap sheet specifically to preserve explosive flexibility for one last superstar run with Steph Curry. Draymond Green acknowledged the persistent chatter on his podcast, saying that if Denver struggles early and Golden State stays competitive by Christmas, trade discussions across the league could become serious. Imagine a pick-and-roll partnership between Steph Curry and Nikola Jokic. It would be the most efficient offensive pairing in NBA history. Golden State possesses the draft capital, tradable salaries, and championship pedigree to execute a blockbuster sign-and-trade. If Jokic decides Denver's championship window is officially closed, the Warriors offer an immediate path to chase more titles. The fit between Curry's off-ball movement and Jokic's court vision would be unguardable. Panathinaikos owner Dimitris Giannakopoulos revealed he launched a multi-million-dollar proposal to bring Jokic back to Europe. While American media brushed it off, Giannakopoulos remained adamant that he will offer historic money if Jokic seeks a fresh start outside the NBA system. While an immediate European return is unlikely, EuroLeague giants making massive proposals highlights Denver's visible vulnerability. Jokic loves his quiet life in Sombor with his horses and dislikes American sports media noise. If Denver surrounds him with budget cuts, dictating his own terms in Dallas, Golden State, or Europe becomes far more attractive. Jokic has always played by his own rules, putting peace above market size. If the NBA grind becomes an uninspiring exercise in corporate belt tightening, an unprecedented European contract with complete autonomy isn't as crazy as American analysts think. What happens if Nikola Jokic decides he has had enough? If Jokic requests a trade or walks, Denver becomes the ultimate cautionary tale of modern sports management. They will have squandered a top 10 player of all time, a talent you draft once every century, all to save money on a repeater tax bill. Picture Jokic in Golden State with Steph Curry. In every scenario outside Colorado, Jokic competes for banners while Denver slides into a decade-long rebuild with draft picks that won't convey until 2031. The story won't be that Jokic left Denver. It will be that Denver pushed him away. History will judge this period harshly if Denver lets a prime Nikola Jokic walk away without a fight. You do not manage a championship window with fear. You manage it with aggression. Denver chose fear, and now the entire league is waiting to cash in. Here is the truth. The Denver Nuggets had a transcendent player who brought them their first title. Instead of doubling down, they chose corporate austerity. They traded their best young defender, overpaid secondary assets, and backed themselves into cap hell. Jokic hasn't demanded a trade today, but he left flexibility on the table by delaying extension talks to keep his options wide open. The Warriors are waiting. The Mavericks are scheming. EuroLeague owners are calling. Denver played a dangerous game of chicken with a generational legend, and time is running out. Every transaction, every loss, and every press conference now carries existential weight for the future of this franchise. Will Nikola Jokic stay a Nugget for life, or will he leave for a real contender? Cast your vote in the comments, subscribe for more NBA analysis, and stay tuned as this drama unfolds.